Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Kev from the gym. This is going to be a quick recap and reflection on last night's fight. Fabio Wardley stopped Joseph Parker in the 11th round. He wins by referee stoppage or 11th round TKO. He is now the WBO interim champion, and he is basically mandatory to face Usyk for all the belts if Usyk decides to defend them. So um, this video is going to be split into two parts. The first half is just going to be recapping the fight and how it actually went, the tactics used, how the boxers performed, and then the second half of the video is going to be talking about the uh, the politrics of boxing or the politics of boxing, and some of the background stuff that I think could have maybe influenced last night's result. Um, as a disclaimer, I like both guys. I obviously have no connection to Joe Parker, but I like him as a boxer. I like Fabio Wardley, and I do have some mutuals on his side. I like his manager, Magic. He's cool. I'm cool with Dylan White, so I'm happy for his team. And Fabio Wardley's a great guy from everything I've seen, and the people I know around him as well. They're all great guys. So, um, with that being said, I'm going to try and be as objective as possible in this video. In terms of the fight, how it was going, I think it was playing out how I imagined it would. I think overall Parker was winning the fight. The scorecards would suggest so as well. One of the judges had it 5-5, so 5 rounds each, so draw at the time of stoppage. The other two had Parker up. So one judge had Parker up by a round or two, and the other judge had it very wide actually. In my view, 10 rounds completed, I had Parker winning 6-4 or 7-3. But Parker was definitely winning more of the rounds, I think, at the time of stoppage, 100%. Off memory, I remember Joe Parker had a very good first round. Fabio Wardley had a very good second and third round. Parker then won the fourth. The fifth was a bit of a swing, and then Parker started to get into a bit of a groove in the middle rounds, with one of them maybe going the other way to Wardley. So it was a little bit back and forth, but overall, I think everyone would agree Parker was up on the scorecards, or should agree that Parker was up on the scorecards. Now, in terms of the actual fight and sort of tactics, I did say this in my preview that Wardley, I'll put it in the comments in my preview, that Wardley's got some underrated skill. He's obviously a world-class puncher, but I think yesterday everyone learned that he's got world-class recovery powers and also a world-class chin, because he hasn't got the greatest defense and he does get hit often, but he does recover very, very quick. And whether that's just the youth and the fitness, or whatever, but he has got world-class recovery powers and a world-class chin. Sorry, I'm still a bit blocked up, so I'm still a little bit ill. So sorry if I do sound a bit congested. But Wardley also did display yesterday some decent footwork. He's got a pretty good jab and some good lead hand activity. And I did put this in my preview as well. I did say that, he does probe with the lead hand. He tries to draw a response, and then he'll slip and come back with the big right hand typically. But you can clearly see that for a puncher, he is thinking about what's going on. He's not just, relying on a big shot. You can see that there is a bit of IQ there. My only concern with Wardley, and it's the same concern I've seen in all of his fights, is that he does throw a nice straight right hand to the body or a right hook to the body, but he exits the same way. He tries the little roll out to his right hand side, but it's, he's always susceptible for a short left hook if anyone ever catches it or sees it. Parker did land a couple of good left hooks. He was doubling, tripling up the left hook because Wardley was always dipping to that side. So I think, I've seen that in Wardley's past couple of fights. It just seems to be a habit or something he hasn't really worked on properly or perfected or whatever. But yeah, I think any of his opponents going forward are probably going to try and focus on that maybe. But in any event, he showed some good skill. Wardley, he did. Parker was maybe a little bit heavier than we used to seeing him. He was 262 on the scale, so 2 stone heavier than Wardley, and he looked it. Parker of old is more of a boxer, more of a mover. I know in recent years he's become a bit stronger, developed a bit of power, so he is planting his feet a bit more. He's a bit more heavy set. He's got his new strength and conditioning that he's been doing for the past couple of years. So you would think that maybe he's grown into his heavyweight stature, and whether that worked against him or not in this fight, I'm not so sure. Some would say that if he boxed more and used his feet, it would have been an easier night. Maybe, probably, but even still, I think he was doing some good things and he was winning the fight. I think when he was doubling and tripling up the jab, it was working. It was pushing Wardley back. He has faster hands. He had good combinations. Sometimes he did sort of wait there too long, and he was leaning over his front foot a little bit, which is why Wardley could find the uppercut at times. And credit to Wardley as well, because again, everyone was thinking it's just going to be the right hand or the overhand, but he worked the body okay. He kept looking for the uppercut. The uppercut left hook is a great combination. So as I said, there was some IQ there, definitely something that he was thinking about. So credit to both men. In terms of the stoppage, so I suppose we're going to go into a bit of the politics and the politrics now. It was definitely an early stoppage, 100% an early stoppage. Okay, Joe Parker, he was aware of his surroundings. He was coherent. He knew where he was. Obviously, he was hurt. You can't deny that, but he knew where he was in that moment. I think his problem is that he didn't hold, and when you don't hold, you give the referee an opportunity. And unfortunately, he just didn't. He didn't hold. But the last barrage of punches, the 14, 15 punches that Wardley was throwing, most of them didn't even land. So Parker knew where he was. He was defending. A lot of the punches weren't landing clean, but he just didn't hold. And this is where you've got some of the politrics. So we're going to talk about it now. Firstly, the home fighter is Fabio Wardley. So Frank Warren does have a promotional deal with both fighters, but Fabio Wardley's the one that he's had from day one. He's the ticket seller. He's the one that can sell out a stadium in Ipswich and probably can do a stadium Wembley with Usyk. And I think going into the fight as a promoter, as Frank Warren, or any promoter, as a strategy, in your mind, you know that, you'll be thinking about that. And even at the pre-press conference, Wardley said it to Joe Parker. He said, look, this fight is not in New Zealand because you can't do any tickets in New Zealand. There's not a boxing market in New Zealand. But in England, Fabio Wardley, can sell tickets, which is why the fight is here. And there's truth in that. And as a promoter, you know that there's truth in that. And so how does that play out into the fight? Well, again, the fight was for the WBO interim championship. So Joe Parker in that fight was the defending champion, but he's walking out first and Fabio Wardley's walking out second. And Joe Parker is the bigger name. Certainly, like worldwide in terms of boxing, you would say he's the bigger name. He's got the more sort of credit to his name for what he's achieved in boxing, former world champion. And he's walking out first. Fabio Wardley's walking out second. Does that mean anything in terms of the ring? In the ring, it's only them two fighters. Maybe not, but maybe so. And now, what else can you, as a promoter, as the strategy, the business behind the fight, what else can you influence? Well, Howard Foster's the referee. Okay, Howard Foster, if anyone doesn't know, he's probably most known in the UK as the referee who is prone to stop fights early the most. So he's got a reputation for stopping fights early. The most famous example is the Carl Froch and George Groves fight, the first one, where Howard Foster jumps in and stops the fight early. So if you're a promoter, and Fabio Wardley's the home fighter, he's your fighter, he's ideally who you want to win on paper because of the follow-up fights and stadium events that he can sell for you. How can you help influence that? Well, if there's a referee who's prone to stop fights early, is in the ring, knowing that Fabio Wardley's most likely biggest chance to win is by the fight being stopped, because he's probably not going to win on points. But can he hurt his opponent? And if his opponent's hurt, can the ref jump in and he get a victory that way? If not a normal KO, then why would you not? Why would you not have that slight advantage in your man's favour? You're just, again, it doesn't take away from Fabio Wardley's performance or from, Joe Parker's performance. It's only two men in the ring actually boxing. But from a strategic point of view, whether you're a promoter, a manager, even as a trainer, you try to influence things as much as you can. Even me as a coach, as a trainer, when I'm matchmaking and picking opponents for some of my amateur guys, I'm thinking, right, this style is good for my guy, or this style is not good for my guy, or this guy's frame and his size, or this guy's record, or what is he susceptible to. So there is an element of strategy behind it, and obviously you can only influence so much. But at a higher level, when you're a promoter, um, is it possible that you are thinking about the referee that you have in the ring and what his optics are when it comes to opponents being hurt, and how that might play out in the favor of the fighter you want to win, who is a big puncher? Potentially, potentially. This is all alleged. It's all potential. It's just things to think about. And lastly, what I'd say is, if Parker won, is there a market for Parker against Usyk? Yes, generally for the boxing fans, but certainly not for the casuals. That fight is not doing Wembley Stadium. It probably would do O2 in England, but it could do, it's not doing anything in New Zealand. It could do like a home stadium for Usyk in Poland or in Ukraine, or potentially in Germany, a smaller stadium maybe. But there's not a lot of money in it. Whereas if you've got Fabio Wardley winning the fight, it opens up so many doors. If Usyk wants that fight with Fabio Wardley, that is a Wembley Stadium, and it fills out Wembley Stadium because of the Cinderella story that Fabio Wardley has. The fact that he's a UK, he's a Brit. You've got the punters behind him, the football fans, and all that. So if I'm Frank Warren and I'm Queensberry Promotions, whether you influence it or not, or can influence it or not, I'm not saying that they have the ability to, you definitely want Fabio Wardley to win. And sometimes that can lend itself in what you see. So that's just my synopsis and my sort of summary of the fight. Look, credit to both men. As I say, I like both guys. I've got mutuals on Fabio Wardley's side. I'm a big fan of Joe Parker. Can they run a rematch? Maybe, but I don't think they will. I think Fabio Wardley will just go into the Cinderella story and have his fight for undisputed. And God knows, imagine he goes in there and he wins against Usyk. You've got no amateur against one of the best amateurs of all time. You've got like effectively power against boxer, boxer against puncher. No skills versus all of the skills. And if he goes out and wins that, that's a Hollywood movie written for him. So, good luck to Fabio Wardley. I'm not upset at the result. It's unfortunate because I do think there were just some I won't call it powers, but there were some things behind it potentially. Certainly an early stoppage. So we'll see what happens for Joseph Parker going forward from here. But look, that's my video. That's my synopsis. Credit to both guys. Great fight. It was a great fight. And Fabio Wardley showed great heart, great chin, great recovery, but also he's got pretty good skill. And people have to start respecting that now. He's not just a puncher. He has got pretty decent skill. Okay. So if you've liked the video, please like the video. That's been me, Kev from the gym, or Kev from the beach right now. But yeah, look, every little helps on these videos. So please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. And I will catch up with you soon. Peace.